help me. All of you can help me by putting this on your wall and inviting your friends and sharing to your groups and just calling people and telling them you're listening to this and you think that it's important for them to listen to it too. I guarantee you we are going to have a discussion like none other taking place in the media on this topic. The elder Native American Nathan Phillips and the controversy that occurred in Washington, D.C. So invite everyone that you can, because I think this is a conversation worth having. Mm-hmm. I think it's a conversation that people haven't heard and are not discussing is very important around this topic. So join us on this program, A Mexican Crossing Lines, with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Here on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo-Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves and your airwaves and your airwaves. You all get some color.
That's
and I want to bring this important topic of Nathan Phillips and what happened out in Washington, D.C. to the Mexican Crossing Lines examination with me and with you and with my audience, because I have gotten over the last few days just bombarded with questions, with comments, with mail, with videos, with everything. So I am going to talk about it. I wasn't going to talk about it. I felt like, you know, it's one of those things that happen along the way when you're reporting a story, like I was with the Kathleen Bennett case, that they pop up and people are like, Cindy, did you see what's going on over here? And I'm like, yes, I know it's marginally related to what I'm doing, but I don't have time for this. But this story has gotten out of control. So I guess I have to talk about it. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a distraction from what we were doing with the caravan, but it's also related. So stay tuned because it's important. And I want to thank all of you who have sent me your questions, your comments, your video links and pictures and everything. I haven't gotten to all of them. I am slowly wading through it all. And it is a lot. It is extensive amounts of things. I also want to urge you all to follow us on our social media sites and go to our website, kpppfm.com, and donate to our organization, to our work, because we depend completely on the support of listeners and viewers. And I hope to find ample time during the week to keep working on my book about Standing Rock. I am working on it. I am now past the foreword and into the introduction. And another way that you can support our work so that I can get this important book, identifying a lot of the folks that I've been doing this reporting on for the last 2 years, into your hands, is by donating at our page, kpppfm.com. Duke, how can folks get to us?
Well, they can get to us a number of ways. One is actually want to give us a call and leave a message. We have a message line, and that number is 701-566-0917. Again, 701-566-0917. Also, as you were mentioning, they can go to kpppfm.com. That's actually where we put our podcasts, the audio and the videos that we've been uploading to YouTube from Facebook Lives. And that's kpppfm.com. And as Cindy mentioned, we have a donate link on there under kpppfm.com/donate. And remember, we're a nonprofit organization. We're non-commercial media. We're nonprofit, so any donations are actually tax deductible. So it's contributing to the community. We appreciate that very much. You can also follow us on Twitter at media_PPP. Old-fashioned email, Cindy at kpppfm.com, or me, Duke at kpppfm.com. And Facebook, where we get a lot of messages, and we really appreciate all the information people have been sending us. It's 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead, That's our main radio station page, but we also have our nonprofit page, which is the People's Press Project, and another page focusing on Mexican issues. It's Mexi-Can. And then Cindy has a public Facebook page at Cindy Gomez-Schempp. If you search for that, you'll find her public page. And again, I do thank people for sending information in. As Cindy said, there's a lot to go through. And actually on today's topic, we received a lot of information. And I didn't know if Cindy was actually going to do a show on it because people have already brought up things and all sorts of things that already called to question what was going on, but couldn't help ourselves. We have some more details and how it connects to the migrant caravan, and it's just quite shocking. And so every time I'm seeing the news at like CNN putting out the false story and the fake news, it just really bothers me. So I'm really happy to be part of a show where we're actually exploring that. Oh, one more thing. On our YouTube channel, it's Duke1517. That's my YouTube channel, and that's where we're uploading all the Mexican Crossing Lines shows. And there's a playlist called the Mexican Crossing Lines. So if you just go there and you subscribe, that would help us a lot, and you'd get notified every time we put a video up. And what I've been doing is putting the videos after the show. The videos go up. The web pages don't get done until maybe a day later. It's a little bit different process. But I try to get the YouTube videos up there right away because then people that don't have Facebook can actually watch the show. So we really appreciate everyone who supports us, everyone who promotes us, people that share our stuff out, all those shares. I see so many shares, the comments on our streams. We really appreciate it.
I would like to ask you to, when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because I know you're going to do it, I want you to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell button too, so that you'll get notified every time we do a new video. I know I hear a lot of people telling me that they subscribe to our Facebook page and they don't get our notifications when we do our live stream recordings.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is.
Yeah,
because Facebook hates me.
Well, also, if that's been happening to you, when you go on the live stream, there's a little spot in there that says get notifications whenever you go live. So you might have to re-notify because Facebook's always changing their stuff. That's why we're moving our videos to another platform. And we're still going to do Facebook because we have so many contacts and so many people across this country and internationally, all sorts of people. And so if you're on Facebook and watching this live stream, just go up and there's a button up there somewhere. I remember seeing it that get live notifications when this channel goes live. So all you have to do is go there, punch that down, and also as Cindy said on our YouTube channel, get the notifications. We don't do a lot of videos. I mean, usually it's like one after a show, another one after a show. So you're not going to get bombarded with notifications, but you'll get notified when a new video is up. And so that would be very much appreciated. And again, we thank everybody who's been participating. This is crowdsourcing news. This is crowdsourcing funding. This is crowdsourcing what that actually spreads out to thousands and thousands of people. So it's something really to be proud of, and it's something that helps build what we're doing. So everyone who participates is just thank you very much.
I really appreciate all of us having these conversations together too, because it feels maddening sometimes when I look at social media and when I watch the news. Like you were saying, people are having a conversation, but it's the wrong conversation, and it's lacking so much depth, and it's lacking all of the this network of other stuff that's kind of behind it. I feel like a crazy person because we're talking about the racism of private Catholic schools, and look, I get it. If there's one thing I know about public schools or schools in general, or even private schools, it is that there is going to be racism. It's baked into America's, history. It's not just the private schools with the rich kids. We've talked about the problem that we have with frat boys in colleges. We talked about this.
Oh, I agree that, and after watching tonight's show, I think you need to reevaluate what you think you know about Nathan Phillips and what you think you know about what happened in D.C. I mean, I am. So every time I see a post of someone who's reading the old information, I'm like, I've really reevaluated. So you may too. We'll see. By the end of the show, we'll see where you're at.
I'm sorry. I just scarfed down a bunch of ice cream and drank really, really cold. Oh my God. So I gave myself brain freeze and I was choking a little bit. But I do want to mention that when I did my show on Tony Cervantes, I showed some pictures. I don't know if you all remember this, but if you don't, go back and watch the show Caravan Crossings, where I featured Cervantes. I talked about how Doug McLean was crossing the border back and forth, and Myron was crossing the border back and forth, and Evan was crossing the border back and forth, and that they were getting detained by the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol. That all of these people, and on my last show, I also showed in Spanish, I haven't gotten to tell you all, my English audience, about this, that Lilith Sinclair, who was also featured in the articles that were circulating about the 150 to 200 people that went to the border on New Year's Day and ended up in this clash with Border Patrol where they had pepper spray shot at them again and they had rubber bullets shot at them again, included Lilith Sinclair and Evan Duke in the article talking about how they were taking medical assistance, even though none of them are medics, to these caravan goers. They said we didn't organize any of it. We had nothing to do with it, right? All of that. Well, Lilith Sinclair also crossed the border again into the United States. And she too had some of her documents, including identifying IDs. She claims, allegedly, she claims that Customs and Border Patrol confiscated her items. She did not have her phone confiscated like Myron Dewey and like Evan Duke because she says she sent it ahead of time the day before with someone that does not do what she does, that is not in any way related to her activities, which I think is an interesting way for her to talk about her activities, right? So those folks, all of whom have been getting detained, interrogated by Homeland Security and Border Patrol for their activities, which they claim are not illegal. Repeatedly, they say, we're not doing anything illegal. We're not doing anything illegal. These folks, all of a sudden, not all of them, but some of them, some of the key figures I've been talking to you about lately, are associated with Nathan Phillips. Tony Cervantes featured him in many of her photos out of Standing Rock. Myron Dewey is connected to Mr. Phillips. But they're also connected to another guy I've shown you in past shows about my reporting on Kathleen Bennett's story. And also one of the people that was just detained on 2 occasions, according to his own videos, Doug McLean, the Santa guy that dressed up in Santas and that was featured in Truth Dig with that Michael Nagaro guy. Okay. He is now at the Indigenous Peoples March. So the same people that are inserting themselves into the migrant caravan crisis, putting themselves as the spokespeople for the caravan goers, while not even speaking Spanish, while not understanding immigration laws, as I have shown you, are making themselves front and center the authorities on the matter when it comes to the caravan crisis. And oh, by the way, could you please send some money? Could you please fork over some cash for the migrants, for the children? Do it for the children. And they cry, as Lolly B does in her videos, and says, it's so sad what's happening, as if she were the victim of the thing that is happening to the caravan goers. All the while, she is asking for your donations so that she, Evan Duke, Doug McLean, was it Brent Tucker? No. Tucker Carlson. No, that's the guy on TV.
Tucker.
Brendan Tucker.
Yeah.
Brendan Tucker. All of these folks I've been telling you about that are down there manipulating. They're not just documenting. They're not just there as human rights observers. They are orchestrating. They are creating chaos. They are telling people to go over the border. They are helping to push them over the border. They are helping to cross them illegally into the United States. And then once on this side, they are helping to get them sponsorships, and they are helping to get them out of detention centers when they're allowed out. But they are not able to guarantee that those people, and thousands of them, end up in detention for a long time, a year or longer. Months and months and months and months to a year to over a year. They can't guarantee that. They also can't guarantee that they won't be separated from their children once inside, or that they won't end up being abused in some way or even killed, as has happened to people. That leadership of these organizations and groups have brought over from Central America before in an LGBTQIA caravan that came last year and put into the hands of a detention center where she was brutally beaten before she died. Her name was Roxana. She was brought by one of the LGBTQ leaders of this caravan, who's a Mexican-American, Harvard-educated, Spanish-speaking transgender activists connected to all of these Standing Rock phonies that I've been telling you about. And more recently, I've also exposed that a lot of these people have criminal records, criminal backgrounds. In the KPBS article that I shared on my Spanish-speaking show, once again, this is information I have not shared with my English-speaking audience, in which Evan Duke appears. He is questioned about his criminal past and admits that up until 2012, he was he was convicted of crimes that ranged from drinking while driving, which is one of the reasons I think he still doesn't drive, and he has other people drive him all the time. Maybe he hasn't been able to get his license back. Maybe he still drinks. I don't know. But what I do know is that right after Standing Rock, and for over a year, or maybe even as recently as last year, that we were still reporting on the activities of these people traveling across the country, especially because Evan Duke was involved in the story of the rape of Missy Waddell that I covered. Evan Duke was also involved was living with one of the rapists, Chelsea Lyons Kent, that raped a reporter, along with Jordan Sheridan and Ty Bayless of TYT, formerly of TYT. Jordan Sheridan was fired or let go, something like that. These folks have been associated with violent criminal behavior, and none of that seems to concern the leadership, which continues to promote these folks. With all of that said, let me show you where Doug McLean is now, because he literally was just in Tijuana several days ago. We were showing you videos of him in the Mexico side, taking a video saying that he had been detained after he was talking about Myron being detained. And then in the United States side, in a video I didn't show on my show that was taken later, he said he was on the U.S. side, but talked about getting detained once again. And here's where he ended up next.
Hey, thanks for stepping into our reality. Every time we see Doug, it's just amazing. It's good, so good.
Such a pleasure, such a blessing to be here with you. Thank you, Chase. So there you go. There's sort of a wrap up from Chase Iron Eyes, and singing and drumming and circle dances here in front of the Lincoln Memorial with the Washington Monument behind us, and Indigenous Peoples March and Rally today, setting a very grounded place for the Women's March tomorrow. Both movements, women-led, the rebirth of the feminine, and the returning of our love of sacred Mother Earth and our place in nature as part of nature, not dominating nature, not subjugating nature to economic or political paradigms. I'm fresh back from Tijuana and seeing that the border wall there is being built 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, while the government is shut down. Somehow, somebody is paying those guys, and those are government grants, those are government contracts that have not been shut down. This government shutdown is a ploy, is a ruse by this administration for its own devices. So remember that when you vote, remember that when you get out in the streets and march tomorrow, and whenever you're doing any keyboard worrying, as Chase just said, or any other reaching out to your community, your family, your loved ones, your friends, to mobilize, to renew, restore, revitalize our humanity, our democracy, our connection as one tribe, one race, one planet together on Earth. Aho, my relatives. Mitakayasi, blessings to you, and thank you for everyone that's watched. This is the third of 3 live streams that I've done today. I'll do more maybe tonight. There's a bunch of performances, but I'll certainly be doing my best to live stream tomorrow at the Women's March. So please stay tuned tomorrow for those sorts of things. And as you heard, Takata will be doing a presentation at the Women's March tomorrow. So my relatives, stay safe, stay warm, stay in love with yourself and your communities and your loved ones and our fellow human beings everywhere. Aho.
Stay in love with yourself.
There's something wrong with that dude. I'm sorry. It's just like, he talks funny. He talks like he's like Max Headroom. Remember that guy from MTV? Like he was like a robot.
Yeah.
Like he's not.
Yeah. Oh
my God!
It must be Max Headroom.
Did you turn into Max Headroom right now?
I think I did.
How did that happen to you?
It's frozen. Hopefully it gets fixed during the show. I don't know.
Oh my God! Try it again.
Or you might just have to look at me this way.
Oh, that's sad.
Maybe.
You're so handsome, and now they can't see you.
No, well, you can hear my voice.
Okay, anyway. Hopefully that gets fixed. But if not, you'll just have to talk with
a still picture, yes.
A picture of you. I wanted to point out, though, from what he did say about what his coverage is, that Chase Iron Eyes didn't just happen to run into Doug McLean, because they travel together. These folks, they do these actions together, and they have a whole host of photographers and videographers and media platforms, that most of the ones that were created out at Standing Rock, like Indigenous Life Movement, who was originally started by William Hawk, but which is run entirely now for years by Doug McLean exclusively. So the question that begs here is, what is Indigenous movements? Why are Indigenous movements in their entirety? Why are all of these Indigenous-led movements almost entirely co-opted? Their Facebook pages run by people that are not Indigenous and in many cases are white. How come? I have questions I would like to know. I don't understand how that's possible, but I would like to know because it's very questionable. Y'all should go read this article right now that's in Tablet. I didn't put it in the links to this show, Nemo, so if you're looking for it right now to put it in the comments, I did not, but I am telling you, just Google Tablet. Tablet is the name of the publication, and put in the name Tamika Mallory and Linda Sarsour. the two Women's March co-chairs that I have talked to you about in the past, and whom were at this Indigenous Peoples March, coordinating the speakers at the march of up in the stage, and were with the people. They not only helped to coordinate and organize these folks, they are working with them. As you might recall, Chase Iron Eyes and Tara Houska took a little trip to Israel, where some folks got arrested for being part of BDSM movement. The BDSM, I call it, the BDS movement, which is considered a terrorist organization, a hate organization to Israel, and for which two of the members of Linda Sarsour Little Party, which included Chase Iron Eyes and Tara Houska, were put in jail, deported a day later, and forbidden to return to Israel forever.
Wow.
Yes. And now Chase is hanging out with a guy that's just been questioned by Homeland Security at the Indigenous Peoples March, which is being organized by Tamika Mallory and Linda Sarsour. So what else is wrong with this picture in which we are about to get the viral video of the year so far? Nathan Phillips and the MAGA hat wearing kids, right? Well, it is the background of this Nathan Phillips, which I told you I have seen over and over and over again. He was in Puerto Rico after the hurricane with all of the fake boondocks saying, what are the boondocks? What is it called?
Search and rescue.
Search and rescue, the canine search and rescue people that had this defunct nonprofit organization that has really sketchy financials. One of the things that you're going to find if you go and you read that tablet article about the recent overshadowing ugliness on the Women's March having to do with Linda Sarsour and Tamika Mallory and Perez Cruz and Bob Bland, all of whom are connected to Winnie Wong and to Desiree Kane and to Tara Houska and to Seven McDonald, all of those people, Maggie Day, all of those people that manage Hollywood stars who are also injecting themselves currently into the migrant caravan situation. I have shown you. They work with Frances Fisher and Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. Go back and watch my Hollywood Celebrities show related to this caravan. All of these folks also have political ties and political leanings. Now, whatever you may think of these marches, whether it was last year's Women's March or this year's Women's March, or, you know, the Women's March of 2 years ago, whatever you think of these marches to go against the Nazis or to go on the Poor People's Campaign March, one thing that is not being discussed is the massive lists of people who are signed up to come to these things or who get signed up when they go to them that then can be commanded by these organizational leaders like Linda Sarsour to take them to the next topic, to the next issue, to the next march of whatever kind they want you to go to. Now they want you to go and focus on the migrant caravan, and Linda Sarsour is taking her people, her list, her Women's March to the migrant caravan crisis. You see how marketable that is? I mean, that's like being an influencer on Instagram. That's like being able to command this giant platform as if you had a television station or a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of power that these giant marches create for the organizers, for the opportunity to take that audience and dump the people and their dollars, their ability to fundraise, their continuing support for that which they have poured their heart into over and over again since Standing Rock. Because let me tell you, a lot of these platforms, a lot of these networks were created around the same time that the Bernie thing happened, that Standing Rock happened, that Jill Stein happened. Remember, go back in history and think about it. So read that tablet article, because there's questionable finances behind that as well. We're going to talk about the money. You need to pay attention to the money. This story about the questions we have about this Nathan Phillips has less to do with the MAGA hat wearers and less to do with Native Americans and more to do with political power and money. Remember that. So let's take a look at this clip of a CNN video, one of the many stories, okay? They have talked about this ad nauseum on the television and all the media and social media, and people have rehashed it and memed it and flipped it upside down. It's been talked about to death. But before we talk about that, Duke, I just wanted to have a brief conversation about going to marches, about the Women's March. The first time it happened, what's happening with it now, who is behind it, why, what's really happening at these marches from a perspective of an organizer now, not as my husband or my co-host or as a media person, but as an organizer. What's the ask? What's the call to action here? How is this? What is it for?
Well, my camera's frozen. Maybe I can try to work on that and talk at the same time.
Okay,
it's off. No, not there. Well, when you mobilize a group of people, the idea is that you're putting attention towards an issue, and I think these people haven't been trained wrong. I think that they haven't been... Nope, I'm still frozen. Well, you're just going to have to think of me as calling into the show.
Yeah, that's
just
cool.
One still shot. It's me. I'm actually physically here, but my camera is frozen for some reason. This hasn't happened before, but I can't shut off the program because we go off the air. But when it comes to doing a mobilization, the Alinsky model of organizing was always that you do a demonstration as the last resort, because the idea is you're always trying to get to the bargaining table. The whole idea about organizing is to be able to negotiate, to have enough power to actually negotiate with people in power to get what you want. So when people started doing these marches where they just have, hundreds of thousands of people show up and rally on the, Capitol steps, it's got to be placed with some sort of action that actually does something. People haven't been doing that. I mean, people go to this like it's a Sunday out. It's not an organizing strategy for most people. It's just something they're going to show up to and walk and listen to some speakers like they're at some sort of show for the afternoon and then go home. Mm-hmm. They're not harnessing the power of hundreds of thousands of people. And they're saying, see, look at how many people are out there. Look at all the people that are at the march. That means we have power, and it doesn't. I think it's been misused for a real organizing strategy, but it's actually used for a marketing strategy. Yes. I think these people are in the marketing. They're marketing something, and they use these marches precisely for that.
Amen. Yes. And I know some of you are onto this, and you watched the social media comments about, from people, indigenous people and women included, that were talking about whether or not they were going to go to the marches and how they felt about the marches. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Now on to Mr. Phillips himself. In this CNN video, I want you to pay attention very closely to what this man is saying that he did, because I know that you've probably heard that there's different versions from the MAGA hat kids and from Mr. Phillips and the other people that were with him as to what transpired. Okay? But from his own mouth, listen to how he talks about what happened. And then we'll talk about this clip afterwards.
There, and I was standing there, and I seen that group of people in front of me, and I seen the angry faces and all of that. I realized I had put myself in a really dangerous situation. It was like, here's a group of people who were angry at somebody else, and I put myself in front of that, and all of a sudden I'm the one who's all that anger and all that wanting to have the freedom to just ripped me apart. You know, that was scary. I'm a Vietnam Times veteran, and I know that mentality of there's enough of us, we can do this.
And there was a couple of things that I wanted to point out. First of all, he said, I put myself in. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. He put himself in that situation. The way that this story was portrayed originally, and yes, even though the media jumped the gun, the way that it was originally put out there, and this was very purposeful, was misleading, and the story evolved and changed, and even Mr. Phillips started saying, yes, it's true, because there was video. There's lots and lots and lots of videos that show what happened, hours of videos mm-hmm. that show what was going on in the moments before this occurred, right? That show that he went and inserted himself. So he wasn't going to be able to lie about it, but I do think that it was very purposeful that in the beginning, the way that it was reported was to make you feel enraged. You were supposed to feel angry about what this group of MAGA hat wearers, they were going to push the "you hate Trump" button in Americans, and they pushed it, and then they went, "You're mad, give me money." And it works.
Yeah.
It works so beautifully. I watched everyone flip out over this story. Immediately they're like, I am so mad. And they took to Twitter and they took to Facebook and they posted and posted and posted. And then, of course, inevitably, as the new information started to come out about what Mr. Phillips put himself in, as he himself admits, that part of us that feels like we need to stand our ground, like those kids are a bunch of MAGA hat wearing, mm-hmm. Private school going, privileged white kids. So I'm not going to feel sorry that I misperceived and probably already posted about how much I hate them on my social mm-hmm. media feed. I'm not going to take it down now. And so instead, what most of the Americans did was to go and find what confirms their bias. The Trump supporters went and found as much information as they could to show you that Nathan Phillips and the people that they are with are liars in some way. They're bad people. They're the ones that were trying to instigate something, and they found evidence of that. And so the reaction from people that are not Trump supporters, that have an initial and instant reaction to anything with a MAGA hat on it, those folks that are progressive and that have been probably very likely supporting Indigenous people and Indigenous issues ever since Standing Rock, very closely so, probably and almost immediately reacted to those people finding this evidence by saying, of course, now they're going to say all this other nonsense too. And at the same time, y'all progressives and liberals went and found your own confirmation bias information that shows that there's been a history of this kind of racism at this school. Because likely there is, yeah. And this is probably true of private schools more than not private schools, mm-hmm. but it's probably rampant everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's not difficult for us to confirm our own biases, whatever those biases may be, because there is evidence of it in the world. Racism is not isolated to one incident, one place, one time in history. It's everywhere. So yes, are these kids angels? No. Are these kids evil? No. Did they do something really bad? No. Did it look really bad? Yes. And we didn't have all of the information. How most of you reacted out there had more to do with your own bias than it did with Indians, with Indigenous Peoples March Day, with MAGA hat wearers, with private school goers. Had very little to do with any of those things, earnestly. Here's the other part of this that struck me. This video, when he said Vietnam times veteran, I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, what's that mean? Vietnam times veteran. Yeah.
Because I never heard nobody from the Vietnam veteran era call themselves a Vietnam times veteran. Have you?
No,
I've
no.
never heard such a thing.
And two is that in most of the articles, they say he's 64 years old, and that, I don't know if that is actually true, but, but we have to go with what we've been given. He says he's 64. And if you think back and you actually do the math, he couldn't have been in Vietnam. He couldn't have been in Vietnam. He'd have been like 15 or 16 years old. And by the time he was 18, there were no more troops in Vietnam. So this idea that he's a Vietnam era vet, he didn't say era, but Vietnam times vet. I mean, that basically, is misleading very much.
Yeah, I had not heard this myself, I will admit, but I do know that according to you, my listeners, my viewers, I have been told that he has called himself a Vietnam veteran, a Marine specifically.
Yeah.
I have not seen that yet.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen it in all the news stories. They basically
Call
promote
him a Vietnam
veteran. That's what they'll say.
I was unsure of whether that was a speculation on their part since they heard him say Vietnam times veteran.
Yeah.
Or whether he actually had said the word Vietnam veteran and blah, 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 extra and explain what kind. But apparently he has. And he called himself a Marine. And apparently also a recon ranger. I don't know what that is. And neither does anybody else. Because people are already asking questions like, what is a recon ranger anyway? We will be sending DOD and FOIA for Nathan Phillips's military records. This coming from the Twitter account of John Cardillo. And people are very unhappy when people steal the valor of veterans. Now, I'm not saying that he isn't a veteran of some sort. What I'm saying is, and what I have said about a lot of these people that have claimed veteran status, like Evan Duke III, and also Ed Higgins, and a whole host of other people, as I've mentioned to you before. The question I have is, ¿por qué más crema los tacos? I mean, why do you have to what's it called when you
embellish?
Why do you have to embellish the truth? Why can't you just say, I was a veteran and I didn't really serve in combat? Okay, like I was a dishwasher, or I got an injury like Mitra Sin, like just be honest about the fact. Don't be calling yourself a combat veteran like Mitra Sin was and saying that she was a combat veteran so she can assure people that are sending thousands of dollars to Marcus Mitchell for his gunshot wounds in his chest that she knows that he does have an injury. And then, oops, turns out she never had any combat. Turns out, like, when you start looking into these people that are willing to lie and defraud others for money, like Mitra Sin was doing. And now Mitra Sin is putting out videos with LaDonna, Mama LaDonna from Standing Rock, Standing with Nathan, right?
Okay. Wow.
They're supporting Nathan. Everybody's putting out their video, and they're going to be putting out their hand too. You wait for it. They're not just putting out their videos in solidarity. They are putting out their videos to show they are with this dude. Send me some money too. Mitra wants some cash. LaDonna wants some cash. All of these Standing Rock phonies want your money. They want your dollar. They want your vote too. When it comes time, they want you to vote for the Justice Democrats. They want you to vote for the people that they have put forward. They want you to vote for Tulsi. They want you to vote, right? They're going to tell you how to vote, where to go vote, how to do it. Here's another NBC video I want you to take a look at. Here's some clips. I have the whole YouTube video linked also for the CNN one and the NBC one. So if you want to go watch the whole thing for yourself, I'm just going to point out some things that we can talk about. Here's that clip.
Who allows the children to treat others that way? Who teaches our children that? Sometimes somebody has to stand in the way, even if it means and I didn't want it to be. I really and I was scared. I was afeared. But no buts. We have to stand strong. We have to stand for our future, for our generations yet to come. We can't be weak now. There's no time for stepping back and saying somebody else can do it. There's no time saying that there's not enough of us. My Omaha people also say that when you gather together, your strength. You have a strength. We are one. And that's what we got to do. We got to stand as one. We're going to have to learn how to live together, and we're going to have to do more than just praying about it and talking about it. We're going to have to get out there and do those actions.
Do those actions? What actions exactly?
Yeah.
What actions? I want to know, because Winia Locke turned on the waterworks recently when she was talking about how she knows what it's like down in Tijuana because it reminds her of Standing Rock and the rubber bullets and the gas, and oh my God, we have to do more action. This is the time now, and now is the time we have to do more action. What action? Because what they were saying is civil disobedience. That was the catchphrase in Winia Locke's video. And when these people turn on the waterworks, it only means one of two things. They want you to go get arrested, or they want your money. They want your cash, or they want you in jail. One of the two things. You get to pick which one. But it's usually one of those two things. And I'm hearing those messages again. I've shown you repeatedly how they elicit what they are asking from you. They push your emotional buttons to get you to get angry, to get you to go to that march, to that place where you will then get arrested or injured, and to take an action you would not normally take, to do something beyond what you would be normally doing. Not knowing they elicited this from you, this heroic act, the act of giving over your money to someone unscrupulous for their agenda, for their political gain, for their power, or the act of getting yourself, putting yourself in harm's way. Because let me tell you something. They have lawyers at the ready to get them out of jail when they go to get fake arrested for their photo opportunity, as I have shown you. Many of them did. I showed you that they have corrupt, yes, I will say it, corrupt lawyers associated not only with the people that were helping the folks at Standing Rock, but also with the people that are now down there in Tijuana, across the border, giving advice to the folks in the migrant caravan, like the horrible advice they gave them to hold the Viento y Marea warehouse shelter open against the federal authorities that said it needed to be, what's the word?
Condemned.
Condemned, that it was condemned due to health reasons, while they held a child with 103, was it 102 point something fever, almost 103 fever, and the beginnings of pneumonia in her lungs, liquid in her lungs, for 3 days, a 2-year-old. They stayed in this warehouse with a kid that could have died at the advice of lawyers like these. Okay? This is the kind of thing that some of these folks in these legal teams are advising. I have shown you that these folks are willing to are doing things that put people's lives at risk, that put people in detention centers without them knowing, without them being able to guarantee whether those people are going to be safe. And so it is for that reason that I think that we have to examine more closely, why are they pushing your buttons with this Nathan thing, and where is it going to take you? Where do they want you to go? Why is this man crying? I didn't understand much of what he was crying about or for, and I have a question for you. Maybe for you, Duke. I don't know. For you, for anybody that wants to answer me this question. Because now we now know things happened differently than we were told. We know that he inserted himself into the situation, that he saw the back and forth between the Black Israelites and the MAGA hat wearing kids from Covington High School, right? We know that he knew that there was tension between them, and he put himself in the middle of it. He has said that as well, right? And we know that he went up to this kid and started beating his drum and singing inches, like right this close to his face. And that this kid, whom, if you look at the beginning of the video, originally, when this whole thing started, when this guy walked up to him, had nowhere to go. There was literally people all the way around him. There was nowhere for him to back up to. Later, after he had been standing there for a while and this kid was just looking him in the face, kids moved out of the way so that he could finally back up or move. When his bus arrived, he left with all their kids. But he didn't actually do anything to Mr. Phillips. He didn't touch Mr. Phillips. He looked to me to be very uncomfortable and feeling awkward. I think a lot of the kids were, shocked and amazed, and many of them looked very happy to be listening to this music and singing along and dancing along with it. There is really no way for us to know exactly how they were feeling or what they were feeling, but I do have a question about what would make someone cry after they had inserted themselves into that situation and it had had a nonviolent and positive outcome. Mm-hmm. Right? Why would that make you cry and say, this is the time when we have to stick together and we got to be strong and we got to do actions?
Yeah.
Well, can you explain?
Well, again, you're going to see a still picture of me. The first thing I think of is that if you watched all the news stories and if you actually watched the live footage of the whole thing as it happened from multiple angles, his first narrative is that he was being harassed and he was in danger and he was very scared. So I think he was piling on that I have been traumatized here. I have been traumatized and hurt by the situation, and we need to change everything, and went into his other speaking things. But the problem is that he's done so many interviews that he keeps on telling the story, and if you watch the video, his story doesn't match up with the video. I mean, it's really simple that you can listen to him talk, and there's numerous points. People have broken it down. I mean, it's all over the place now. You know, him saying the guy went left and right and stood right in front of him where the guy wasn't moving. You know, that people were jeering and yelling, and he looked at them, they're all smiling and laughing. You know, and he said a lot of things that aren't true. So I think this is one of the earlier videos where it was afterwards, it was the evening as it started to get dark, that he had to hang on to the narrative that he first put out there, and that he was abused and he was traumatized. And this is a horrible thing. Mm-hmm. So they could make comparisons to, you know, the lunch counters in the 60s and things like that.
Exactly. Right? Mm-hmm. He has to be a martyr because that gets cash. That gets cash, okay? And a lot of this, as I've told you, is about raising money. Here's the New York Times article in which he said he was 64 years old, and in which, as you will see, if you look further down into the story, it says he was with a guy named Marcus Frejo.
Oh, really?
There's his age, 64. Mm-hmm. And if you keep going down, you will see that he was with Marcus Frejo. There's a picture of Standing Rock, probably taken by Tony Cervantes, but it doesn't say photo credit. No. Or does it? Terry Sylvester?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is more, and he's...
It was a long article, had a lot of ads in it. Sorry, people.
That's all right, honey. It's fine. There's a Hebrew Israelites, and there is Chase Iron Eyes, spokesperson for the Indigenous Peoples Movement, which organized the march. So he didn't organize this march by himself. Mm-hmm. Linda Sarsour and Tamika helped him. Bob Bland helped him. All of these other people I've been telling you about helped him. Winnie Wong probably helped him. Sam McDonald was helping. All sorts of people were helping. Marcus Frejo, an indigenous hip-hop artist, also known as Keezy IMC. And who is he? Why don't you tell them, Duke, where we heard about this guy before from Standing Rock?
Oh, he's in Standing Rock, especially in the early days when they were doing lockdowns, because I think it was he and his brother.
Yeah.
Were actually stopped at a rest area.
Yep.
And they had lockdown equipment, and they got arrested, you know, and he was also doing music. You know, we were actually playing his music. And so he was one of the earlier arrests, and also part of the groups that were doing the...
I believe he was the first one. I think he was the very first one. And I remember it because he drummed the entire time while he was sitting there in handcuffs.
That's true. I remember that now.
And he was like, he sang the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then later we found out he's an entertainer. He's a rapper. Mm-hmm. By the way, get his music, get his record, play it on the radio. Let's help make him famous.
Yep.
These folks are entertainers. And I've told you many of them are also actors or stunt people. Mm-hmm. All of the folks that are involved in this, they are trying to get famous, on their way to getting famous. They want to be in the documentary. They want to be in the music video, or they already have been. And so has Mr. Nathan Phillips. And it is important to remember that because Marcus Frejo and his brother were together with the people of Red Warrior Camp, some of the most aggressive protesters that were getting arrested because of the actions they were taking that were civil disobedience, right? Mm-hmm. The actions they were taking that we've been talking about break the law, okay? That's the extra step that Mr. Nathan Phillips may be talking about, that I think Winia was definitely talking about, that these folks in Texas and in Tijuana are doing, which is breaking the law. Breaking the law in the name of activism, breaking the law in the name of their agenda. And they say it's because they really care about the migrant caravan. They care about the people of Puerto Rico. They care about the hurricane victims of Houston. They care about the pipeline. They care about KXL3. They care about this. They care about that. But what they really, really, really care about is fame, fortune, and power, in politics especially. So here is the Tyler Morning Telegraph. And in it, it talks about the Native American that tried to ease tensions at the mall rally. They're talking about Nathan Phillips. And in this, it talks about Keezy EMC again. IMC, the rapper that I was just talking about, a.k.a. Marcus Frejo. And he is referred to in this article as Chief Keezy EMC. Oh,
Really?
it says right there, Vietnam War veteran who holds an annual ceremony honoring the Native American veterans at Arlington National Cemetery. That's an important piece of information because they're telling you more about him. And his group is highlighted here. And it says that Chief Keezy IMC said he had been a part of the march and was among a small group of people remaining after the rally when the boisterous students began chanting slogans such as "Make America Great Again" and then began doing the haka, a traditional Maori dance. It was a school cheer. I watched the videos. That was not a haka. They were trying to tell you that it was a haka to make you angry that they were appropriating Native American culture so that they would have another reason to say that these kids are being racist. And while I'm sure that they do have tendencies to do things that are probably appropriative and or racist to indigenous people and people of color because we live in America and that happens here all the time, in this particular case, they were not. They were just doing a school cheer, and they did not say build the wall in the videos that I heard. If somebody can show me where they did, please send it to me. But I think the point here is the things that we're not talking about. And that is, of course, the fact that these folks tend to be in the spotlight at the right place at the right time. And I've told you it's not because they're really, really lucky. These things don't just keep happening to the same people over and over and over again. They are orchestrating it. And they're ready with a photographer there with the, great camera equipment like Tony Cervantes or Rob Wilson or Doug McLean to photograph it and videotape it and put it in the news. They are ready for that. They are looking for opportunities. And what better way to close down the Indigenous Peoples March, which was really all about marketing. It was like a day-long commercial that had a lot of, requesting of money and raising of donations. And boy, did they raise a lot of money. And of course, collecting information from their base so they could use it in the future. That's what it was really about. So I want you to watch these 3 different clips. The first one is called The Black Israelites, because I want you to hear, I'm sure you've probably seen this, but if you haven't, I want you to hear what these folks were saying. This is a warning, caution, there is about to be an N-word on the show. It came from the Black Israelites to another young black man that was amongst the students from Covington High. I want to tell you, this is one of the tamer things that the Black Israelites were saying, not just to these students, but they had been saying it to Native Americans as well. They were saying some really bigoted, hostile, racist things. Just horrible. So here's just a taste of it.
One nigga in the crowd. Whoa. That's racist. You got 2 niggas in the crowd. 2 niggas. Look at him. And I'm going to say when you get old enough, they're going to steal your organs. That's fine. Whoa. Hey, we love you, bro. Hey, we love you, kid. Hey, we love you. Get out. nigga. Get out, nigga. Get out, nigga. You ain't see the movie? Why you being mean? Get out, nigga. Why are you mean?
Okay, so I just want to point out that the people that are sharing this story and very proud of Mr. Phillips and defending him and feeling outrage on his behalf and demanding some kind of justice or putting money into his organization currently. Also, by virtue of this story, because of the way it was framed, because of the way it's been discussed, creating a false sense of outrage, misplaced perhaps, or embellished unnecessarily against these kids who were being harassed by these adult black Israelite males who then came to the defense of Nathan Phillips, and then the Native American leadership also defended the black Israelites who were saying awful things, including the F word, but not the one that you're thinking of. It's a gay slur, right? They were using that one. And these kids, when they heard the black Israelites say that homophobic slur, they also said, whoa, why do you have to be so mean? And he said, because God condemns homosexuals in the Bible, and you guys are from a Christian school. He's telling them, like, you of all people should also be condemning the gays with me. And the kid said, no, they're human. So if we're supposed to hate these MAGA hat wearing privileged kids from a private school, you should know they were defending gay people and black people, one of their own students. They were defending people from bigoted hate speech, including themselves, who were being harassed directly by these guys. As you can see, they were not saying nice things. So it was really bewildering to me why later on so many Native Americans, including people that were part of this, that were there, could defend the black Israelites. Also, I want to point out that when Orlando Cruz, after he was helping Mitra Sin raise money for Marcus Mitchell's fake gunshots, do you remember when I exposed that on my show around Halloween time?
Yep.
Well, after all of those people, cleaned up the mess of, we were fundraising for a fraud. One of the things that Orlando Cruz did was to go to a run that was happening in California. I was watching very carefully to see if he was going to jump the border and start trying to bring people across or whatever. And he went on a run with another woman whose name I don't know, and I can't remember who she was right now, but they were hanging out with some black Israelites. And I started to think, this is just one of the other extremist weird groups that these Native American groups have been organizing and working with. Makes sense that they would actually be supportive of each other. I'm not saying that this particular group of black Israelites that was in in Indigenous Peoples March in Washington, D.C. are the same ones as the ones I saw before, or that they were working and planned this together. But I do still have questions, because I don't know for sure. But I do still have questions about why, in their words to the public about the black Israelites, people, including Nathan, would defend anything that those folks were doing at all. Or why the black Israelites, and I heard this myself in one video, you heard it too, say, here comes our elder. The black Israelites said that about Nathan.
They called him by his name, Nathan. Here comes Nathan.
Yeah, here comes Nathan. He said
he's one of our elders, is what they said.
Bring the receipts, Duke. Bring them. You can bring them too. You've been watching this stuff with me.
Oh, yeah. I heard him say exactly that. I heard him say that it was right towards the right when he started marching in, and seeing the video where it was actually taken by the Black Israelites. They were filming the whole thing, and they said, "Here comes Nathan. Nathan is coming. He's one of our elders. He's coming here to save us." And Nathan drummed and walked right on by him, and so I was like, "Wow!" They're calling him by name, and he just marched up drumming, from feet and many feet away, So, and that's in some of the videos that you can find on YouTube and on Facebook. But this is the one that actually the Black Israelites videotaped, because they videotaped the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing of where they were speaking to the crowd. And much earlier before that, and all the way to the end. So there's lots of video evidence from another angle that you can watch and compare to what Nathan is saying and seeing where it doesn't match up. But that just threw me off when I heard them actually acknowledging who he was and saying that using the word,
saying his name.
And saying, he's one of our elders. I thought that was, I said, hey, did you hear that? And we do have it, but we're not playing it tonight.
I can't play every little bit of evidence. You can either believe that I bring receipts, that I have the information. I always try to show you the receipts, which is why my shows sometimes take 3 hours. And still, despite the fact that I always prove what I say, that I bring you evidence, people's confirmation bias will not allow them. It seems like they just will not allow them to concede that maybe they've been tricked, that maybe they've been lied to, that maybe they've been manipulated, their emotions and their dollars just sucked out of their wallet without them realizing that they have been taken by a fraud, by a phony. It's hard. It makes you feel stupid. It makes you feel used, and nobody likes to feel like that. I don't like to feel like that. So I get it. I get it why people will defend this type of behavior from Nathan, from these indigenous people in leadership. Hell, indigenous people don't have adequate representation in the media. So when we see it, when we idolize it in some way, it makes us feel hurt for anyone to say anything negative about that. Because we want something to admire, and damn it, can't we just have it? Let us have it. I'm not trying to take nothing away from you. I'm just trying to ask you to think critically. Think critically, because in the having of it, and in this case we're talking about Nathan Phillips as a hero, as a veteran, as a Native American elder, as a leader of the youth, as the whatever you want to label him. In the having of it, you have the having of hate directed at these students for something that, well, quite frankly, isn't fair. It's not fair that it has been embellished. Like I said, are they maybe mostly privileged, bigoted, etc.? Maybe. Maybe they all are. But they didn't do this. And just like I told you with the Kathleen Bennett case and everything that happened to Mary Trujillo, the elderly Lakota woman that was kidnapped by Mulaney Stoneman, with the help of Kingpin and Billionaire Wealth Nexus member Christina Hallenbeck, with the assistance of the fake medics or former paramedics, Vanessa Bolin and 8-Ball, Jessica Piercy, with the help of the fake marshal and fake Army Ranger, Bill Running Fisher. What I told you is that I don't know if Kathleen has done something bad. I don't know if Kathleen is a bad person or if she's ever done something bad. I know she's innocent of what she is being accused of, and I can prove it. I can prove that a whole group of people framed her and left her mother to die in a hospital. They never looked back, and they kept claiming all the while that they cared about women, that they cared about the elderly, that they cared about indigenous people and indigenous rights while they were trampling them. So I ask you to question their true motives, because the people that I have been exposing tell you one thing while they do the opposite of that thing. They cry while they ask you to help people in the migrant caravan, while they take in donations for themselves and put people in detention centers, feeding the industrial complex of private prisons, lining the pockets of those market holders, of those investors in those private prisons. And even after they put those people in detention, they're going to keep on milking you for money, supposedly for the people that they put in detention. Did you know that immigration to this country was at an all-time record low of 50 years? Do you know how much that hurt the investors in those private prisons? So all of these people that are helping funnel them by the thousands now, suddenly this created caravan crisis is giving Trump all of the talking points he needs to beg for his wall money and filling the private detention centers. All the while, the people that are doing it can say they're the people fighting against Trump, fighting against the wall, and fighting against deportation and inhumane practices in our policies against immigrants. See it for what it is. You're being played. And most folks aren't even scratching the surface below what these folks are saying to see if there's any validity to any of it. So I ask you, think. I want to go to the next video, which is called Build the Wall, because this is another important part of what you need to know. There's a message in this. I looked and looked and looked. I stayed up way past my bedtime watching videos of Nathan and videos of what happened to see if I could find these kids saying anything racist, anything mean, anything like Make America Great Again, Build the Wall, or anything like what Nathan and others assert that they were doing. Even though they themselves, the people with Nathan, have contradicted each other already. Because Marcus Frejo said that the kids appeared to be dancing with him and smiling with him and singing with him, while it was being portrayed that they were mocking Nathan, that they were jeering at the people that were singing. So they've already told conflicting stories. Nathan told conflicting stories of what happened about himself. The other people with him told conflicting stories about what happened. But this part is important, and I'm going to tell you why and how it connects to the caravan. Here's that clip.
I heard them saying, build that wall, build that wall.
He said he heard them saying, build the wall, and then he cries. Okay? For those of you who say that I am mocking his pain, no. What I am doing is comparing it to a lot of these videos in which these folks cry for seemingly no reason that I can think of to elicit your emotional response and your dollars. But don't forget, what you are crying, what they are crying about may not even be true. Mulaney cried when she talked about how her children were being shot at and there were rubber bullets. She's a medic, so she was out there, and none of it's true. None of it was true. I mean, literally none of it was true. Bill Runningfisher was very emotional as he talked about finding this woman naked, covered in her excrement and urine in a frozen army green tent that collapsed moments after he walked out because he was about
saving her.
Yes. And it was completely fabricated. These dramatic stories can be completely staged and fabricated. Almost every single one of the actions that took place at Standing Rock was fabricated, start to finish. So I think because I have proven that, and I have proven that these people cry on cue for no damn reason when they're lying, while they're lying, that I ask, and I think I have every right to ask, why the people that are with them do the same thing. Okay? Because he has been with them. I'm going to show you. He's been with the same Standing Rock phonies that I've been reporting on. I already showed you his pictures from before. I didn't know his name. But I said, oh, look, here's Kei Kurimoto, one of the people in Tijuana right now that works with Winnie Wong and Desiree Kane and all of those PR people. Kei Kurimoto is connected to a lot of these movie stars and Tony Cervantes, right? I showed you he was in a picture with her. I showed you he was in Tony Cervantes' pictures. And I'm going to show you who else he's with. But he is saying, build the wall, even though there's no evidence that I can find of these kids actually saying, build the wall, because he needs to insert himself now as a celebrity, as a martyr, as a wise elder, and as a Vietnam veteran into the caravan and border wall discussion, as an authority. And I am sorry, but this man can't even string a sentence together that makes sense in English. How can he become an authority on immigration and border walls? That was a rhetorical question. He can't. Neither can Myron Dewey. Neither can Doug McLean. Neither can Chase Iron Eyes. Neither can Linda Sarsour. And here is a Mexican crossing lines that is here to tell you, y te lo puedo decir en español si prefieres, they do not have a place in this discussion that does not primarily affect them and which they know little to nothing about. So wait for it, because he is trying. All of these indigenous elders and leaders are desperately trying to astroturf and exploit the migrant caravan and its issues, its topic, when they should not be putting themselves, people that do not get directly affected by this issue, at the forefront as experts, speaking on this issue. Stay in your lane. Take 4 seats. Cállese. You need to wait to be asked to chime in on this issue. Nobody's asking. So the third clip, he talks about why he's so choked up about the walls and why he's so choked up about these kids saying, build the wall, when we can't find any evidence that they even said this. Why is he fabricating that part of it? Why is this extra embellishment that's unnecessary added to the conversation? Here's why.
This is indigenous land. We're not supposed to have walls here. We never did.
He says, we're not supposed to have walls. We never did. Right? That's true. But guess what? There is one. We didn't have immigration policy or a democratic government, republic. We didn't have countries. We didn't have states. There's a lot of things we didn't have in the past, but they're here now, right? We can admit the reality of where we are at this moment, can we not? The reason, folks, I should have worn a bib tonight, Duke. I spilled it myself twice already. The reason, folks, that these folks keep saying what they're saying, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, and what it means. Why are they telling people in the caravan, as I have told you, that this means that indigenous people will reclaim their lands and that the injustices of the past will be corrected and that there will be no more borders, no more walls. There will be free migration. Migration is a right. And also, why are they saying no border wall and everybody has the right to ask for asylum? Do they have a magic wand? Do they have a magic lamp that will make the border wall disappear, change the immigration laws overnight, make it possible for some people of the most impoverished countries in the world to travel all the way to the United States and get jobs, and end all of the other things that impede that flow of migration that have nothing to do with the things I just mentioned, and solve all of those things? Do they have that, Duke? No. Are you aware of such magic that can make all of these changes?
No.
Because I am not. So what they're doing is fantasizing. What they're doing is pieing in the skying. What they're doing is, wishes and rainbows and unicorns, but there's no way of doing it. There's no way of actually changing it. There's no way of implementing it. But you need to call to action. You need to start taking these actions. You need to do the thing, right? And the thing, like I said, is give me your money, come with me, and possibly get arrested. Let's go do a thing. These are the things they're asking. Here is a video, which I'm going to have Duke play a little clip of, in which Nathan tells you that he's in a music video also. Because remember, these folks, Nathan doesn't know anything about the migrant caravan or the wall. Nathan can barely speak English fluidly. Nathan wants you to know about that because he wants you to put money in his GoFundMe. Nathan wants to include himself, like all these other indigenous people want to include themselves at the forefront as experts on migration, immigration, and the border wall, because they're doing some things. They have a plan down at the border. They're building camps. They are creating these camps for volunteers, like Lolly B and Jake Lee and some of the people I've been showing you on my show that are giving out legal advice to the migrant caravan, that are taking donations over the border and giving them to the group of the caravan goers that do their bidding and go shut down the border wall when they're told. Those folks are going to be raising money for these caravans. So all of these indigenous people that are working with them all have to direct people toward the same goals. You need to know about our Mission Texas Butterfly Sanctuary. You need to know about our Carrizo Come Crudo tribe and how they're trying to insert themselves into the border wall conversation and give safe passage to undocumented people through their tribal lands over the border, and possibly to give them some kind of jobs or some kind of sanctuary, and or the Tohono O'odham tribe. As I have told you, they are working on a whole bunch of different issues that will inject them into the conversation of migrants and the caravans that are being generated for political purposes, really, so that they can get a piece of the pie. And by pie, I mean money, because it is the number one issue on the minds of Americans, and right now also on the minds of Central Americans and even Mexicans. And two, because there's a lot of money being thrown into it, whether it's the people getting in detention, the people that are getting the children after detention, the nonprofits, the organizations, the churches, all of the stuff that has to do with the migrant caravan and all of its moving pieces. All of these organizations are making billions hand over fist. And these folks want a piece of it. Never mind that they don't have any experience. They don't have any knowledge. They're probably going to do more harm than good. They are giving bad advice to people, and they're working with people that break the law and or have broken the law by themselves and or are probably still breaking the law right now, breaking the law to do the things that they claim that they're doing to help these people. Never mind that. Give them the money, not the Mexican people that are actually doing this work and have been doing it for a long time. Don't give them the money. Not the people that actually know more about immigration law, sponsoring people that get out of detention and the real costs of doing these things. Never mind. No. You need to put these indigenous people that don't know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to migration or the caravan front and center and give them the money. That's why Nathan is talking about the border wall, which he has no business or knowledge in talking about. And finally, I want to show you his video in which he is trying to raise the profile of his popularity, right? Ultimately, a lot of these folks have IMDb's and they're trying to build a resume. You know, they want to get in the next movie, yo. So here's Nathan in the Skrillex video. Shout out. He's saying, "Hey everybody, I was in a music video. Thanks, Skrillex."
What was your name?
Nate Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of Native Youth Alliance. You can like me on the Facebook, Native Youth Alliance.
We got 452 people here, so everyone, one more time?
Native Youth Alliance.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, Native Youth Alliance at gmail.com. And my name is Nate Phillips. And, shout out to Skrillex. Thanks for putting me in your video.
Your Skrillex video?
Make it burn them.
When did that happen?
Oh, let's see, in 2012, my wife's cancer came back really strong, and about that time, the kids really needed something to put their minds on something else. We answered what they call it, a casting call? Yeah. And the producer said, "Oh, we like you guys. Put us in the video." Yeah, they gave us both the $400, and they gave my daughter a couple $100 for using her white wolf. But then my wife's cancer got worse, and state came in and confiscated our wolf.
Look, I am for putting more indigenous and Mexican and black faces in entertainment, in movies, in media, and representing who we are and the beauty of the variety and the depth of our, knowledge and what we have to offer as people. But I don't like the lying part. I don't like the emotional manipulation part. I don't like the putting false charges on people or creating a false sense of outrage. I don't like the astroturfing of issues. I don't like the fake virtue signaling. I don't like the dishonesty of what these folks are doing. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. Can you distinguish the two, one thing from the other? Because I feel that when I bring these criticisms forward, people immediately have a really bad reaction to it and think I'm being racist. And I don't know. What do you think, Duke?
Well,
talk about it.
You're not being racist. You have been cautious not to talk bad about people of color, because you're oppressed people in a white-dominated racist society. But what you're doing is you're calling out the things that people are doing that are bad, and they can't get a pass. Can't get a pass from you. And what happens is that people tend to react to you that they're calling you racist because you're talking about, you've been told that you talk bad about all water protectors because you've criticized people like Michael Marcus, all sorts of shenanigans and illegalities and really bad people. Bill Running Fisher, all sorts of people, Mulaney Stoneman, Christina Hollenbeck, who have done crimes.
Yeah.
And you called him on it.
Yeah.
And so you're not against all water protectors, but you're calling the ones out that are doing illegal things and are harming a lot of people. And I think people, their reaction to you is that they want to call you racist, which is, because you're talking about a person of color who is doing wrong. And what you're doing is you're exposing these things because we can't be taken. We can't give people a pass.
No, and
they got to be held accountable to their wrongdoing.
I also feel like we deserve better. As people of color, as indigenous people, as Mexican people, we deserve a worthy representative. We deserve a worthy spokesperson on any given issue. Not the worst possible with a criminal background, don't know how to talk, lies through his teeth or her teeth, out there committing crimes and doing the opposite of what they claim representative. That's not who I want representing me. It makes me angry when that is what we are given and people are like, you're tearing down your own people because I have a right to a different kind of representation, especially on topics that mostly are impacting me directly, like immigration. Okay? This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And of course, I'm going to speak out against those who are astroturfing this issue and exploiting the people that I have been trying to help, because this is not helping. Let me tell you, this is not helping. Here's that Skrillex video that he was in case you don't know it or didn't remember that Nathan Phillips is an entertainer too. Here he is.
And you want it without the sound? So
I want it without the sound.
Okay.
Y'all remember that video, right?
Yeah.
Y'all remember? He wasn't just in a little piece of the video. He was in the
whole
video.
thing.
He was featured. He's the dad in the story, right?
Mm-hmm. It's very well done too. You know, the filming of it
It was a great
excellent.
song, great video.
Mm-hmm.
When I first came out, I was like, "Damn, this is cool." Mm-hmm. So anyway, he's on the rise, you know, and there is also questions that I have about some of the other people that were with him, because you have to ask questions. Okay, before you make a deduction of what happened and you get angry all about it and you start sending your money somewhere, you need to find out, is your we just went off the air.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
I have no idea. I can't tell you.
That's weird. Shh, I guess we're gonna have to do a part 2. Stop the clock.